What's up, everybody? Metal Dave here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today, we are joined by guitarist Rowan Robertson. You know him best as the 18-year-old, 17-year-old teenage guitar shredder who joined Ronnie James Dio in time for the Lock Up the Wolves album. What an amazing story that is, basically coming out of obscurity and being hired by one of the greatest rock singers of all time.
From Sleepy Town, England, Cambridge area, England,
Yes.
to Los Angeles, to basically be in a room with his idols, Jimmy Bain and Dio and Vinny Appice and then Simon Wright.
Yes.
His story today is inspiring. And we talk a lot about, I babble on in this episode about how important it is for your support team to be there for you when you kind of are this shy kid. And Rowan was something like that. We'll let you figure it out because you can still see the shy kid. I don't know if you notice he's very like, oh, shucks, guys, he's still, it's still, I see it, especially when he says it,
Now that you mention it, yeah.
So I think it's a special episode to hear a story in, like you're kind of alluding to, out of obscurity, this child shredding guitar player who basically had never written a song gets the gig playing for Dio.
Yes.
And ins and outs, and we talk a lot about the musical climate, the rock and roll climate, the loud rock, between 88 and 91, 92. That's sort of like, is this cool? Like what you're gonna do. It's like the music industry had like some growing pains during that era, and he was there and survived it. And
I think that Lock Up the Wolves album came out in, I think, 1990. So,
89, 90,
It's kind of a Cinderella story. This kid comes out of nowhere, gets to play with Dio, but it's at a time when the music industry, especially, hard rock, heavy metal, especially swords and sorcery kind of stuff like Dio is kind of falling out of fashion. But there's no denying. I mean, can you imagine being 18 years old and standing in a rehearsal hall jamming with Dio? And
Ronnie James Dio's looking at you going, so kid, what you got? Play me some riffs. And you're like, I've never written a riff before. I can just play your songs as good as your songs.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah,
that's a story, regardless of the musical climate at the time. That's a story you can't take away from him. I mean, that's
kind of the other side of the coin, isn't it? It's like you've got this incredible moment in your life, and you're sting me. Am I dreaming? Right?
Yes.
But he ended up being in bands with people who were also stung by the same situation. And we're in the same, wearing the same kind of boots. He was in a band with the Duncan brothers, who, we're talking Armored Saint and Odin, and now Sean's in LA Guns, and as well as Oni Logan, who in 88, 89 was playing with George Lynch in Lynch Mob and had a hit on the radio in 89 and 90 with Wicked Sensation. And so many things, and Cowboys from Hell had just come out. A lot of things and grunge was giant.
Yeah.
In this sort of, and Metallica was about to make the Black Album, and so it was really, you'll notice I mentioned, it's like, damn, this needs to be a show about
that transition period.
Yeah, those years where the Dark Ages revisited of like, what is I already said it. What is this cool? What's going on here?
Yeah.
with rock and roll, and not to be sort of just kind of shoved out of the way and forgotten about. Rowan Robertson was part of this sort of thing that Ronnie James Dio talks about a little bit in his documentary Dreamers Never Die, where we didn't have a record label, we were, what do we do? There's this moment in the Dio doc where Dio's actually talking about these dark times and what am I going to do around 89, 90, 91.
Yeah.
You know, he was opening for Metallica. You know, it's time for the new kids, so to speak. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I was really happy to hear Rowan mention Dave Jordan.
Yeah.
Dave Jordan, as we're recording this episode, passed away yesterday. Famed record producer. He had a hand in albums by Armored Saint and Jane's Addiction and Alice in Chains. And the reason he's mentioned by Rowan is Rowan had a band at one time called Violet's Demise. And Dave Jordan was a part of that, along with Oni Logan.
That's why it was kind of all. This episode had some sort of like magic to it. Not to quote Dio, but it was, or to quote you quoting Dio, because you mentioned that. It's interesting how all of these, like I already said, these people that Rowan was working with had gone through all of these things, and Dave Jordan had a hand in helping them stay in the game and creative and you know, produce his record. Symbol of Salvation is, you know, and Facelift are probably two records in my record collection right now that I love Dave Jordan for. But anyway, Rowan is great. This guy is super sweet. He's just sweet. And
totally.
What a nice guy, and I'm glad that he wanted to do this and just hang out with us. Yeah,
I really enjoyed getting to meet him and know him a little bit today and hear his story. I think our audience will too. He was so much fun, and he's done so many amazing things. Rowan Robertson today on the Talk Louder podcast.
I don't know any other Rowans. You got any more Rowans, Rowan?
There was one at my school.
Really?
Yeah.
Back in England?
Back in England there was a Rowan Finch in my school.
Oh, that's a good Brit name. Rowan Finch. Rowan Finch.
Yes.
Love that shit.
Indeed.
How long have you been in the States?
I have been in the States since February 1989.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
So,
and where are you currently? Are you currently in Texas?
Oh, I know where he is.
Where is he?
He's not in Texas yet.
Jason.
Oh, okay.
You're not in Texas yet, am I right?
That's correct. In fact, I'm actually going to be in Texas in 12 days.
Yay! Well,
I'm not too far from you either, Jason. I'm going to go and visit a friend in the Woodlands.
Oh, that's far.
That's Houston.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were in. You're not
pretty
in Austin.
far.
It's like 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours is Texas is big.
Yeah, that's more like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, two and a half hours is like driving from San Diego to Hollywood.
Totally.
Yeah. Traffic and fire and death and earthquake permitting.
Other than that, it's perfectly pleasant. Yeah.
Yes. If you can get through all that, then
Texas has California beat on a lot of that shit. So.
For like bad weather and just hurricanes and
doom.
We just have a different kind of bad weather.
Yeah.
You know, it's wildfires and hurricanes.
So by the time this episode comes out, you will be a Texan.
I will be in Texas.
You're not going to move to Texas? I heard you were looking for.
Oh, that's right. Because that's what I was talking about. That. Yeah, but I'm staying put in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm staying put. Yeah.
Okay, so roundabout Dave, he's in Vegas.
Okay, got it.
That's where he's calling from. Yeah. Long answer, Vegas.
Vegas it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been in Vegas a while, huh?
Yes, I've been in Vegas since 2016.
Oh,
2017 full time. Yeah.
All right, that's almost a decade. That's pretty good.
There's a lot of rock and roll dudes in Vegas. I know Phil Lewis is out there. Phil from LA Guns is
Everyone's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
everyone.
I think you two are the only two that aren't actually.
Yeah, that's right. No, I still have a lot of California rockers that are still holding down the fort in Southern California.
Nice.
Yeah, Caton DePena and Gene Hoglan, and there's a lot. There's a bunch of rockers that are still out there. So listen, I want to just go back to Baby Rowan and talk about, you're a few years younger than me. I'm wanting to know what it was like when you were just a young teen picking up a guitar, and what records did you have? How did you get those records? And what inspired you to like figure that shit out?
Well, I picked up the guitar real young. I picked it up at probably about age 5.
Wow.
And there was a guitar in the house that I grew up in, and it was just sitting there in my sister's room, and I started plinking around on it, and then my dad got me some lessons from a local folk teacher, and then I went on to some lessons on like classical. And then basically by the time I was about 13, I got into the shred stuff via like the classic rock, like Queen, Brian May, Angus Young, Hendrix, of course, and then Gary Moore, and then into the shredders, like, you know, the whole shrapnel thing, and that was my route. Yeah, by about 17 to 15, 16, I was doing the Yngwie, trying to do bits of Yngwie and stuff.
Right. How did you? Give us? I'm not going to pretend that I know, but I have this faint memory of you being part of the Shrapnel family for a second. Were you on anything like U.S. Metal or none of the Mike Varney stuff?
No.
Okay.
No. I know Mike. He lives in Vegas, but no, never. No.
Wow.
So who was your earliest guitar hero? You mentioned a bunch of people, but was there anyone in particular that you were trying to emulate or that you thought was the coolest dude on the planet?
Yeah, Hendrix.
Okay. That's interesting because you are a few years younger than us, not by much, but our generation typically leans, Hendrix was kind of already, history, and we were more impressed or blown away, I guess, by Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads. And as you said later on, the Yngwie Malmsteens and the Shrapnel guys and stuff like that. But so Hendrix, that's interesting. Why did it's obvious he was an amazing player, but what about him impressed you, and how were you exposed to him the first time?
Well, my dad bought me a cassette because in my school there was 1,000 kids, and only 5 of us even knew who AC/DC was, basically.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah, because it was. Yeah.
What year was it when you were 12, 13? What year?
I guess I guess 82, 83, roughly.
Okay.
I was born in 71. So
wow, that's
one way or the other.
Wow, that's like under a bubble, like living under.
Yeah. So I only had like a few rock albums. Probably by the time I even came out here at 17, I probably only had like a couple of Van Halen albums, David Lee Roth album, and then I had some ZZ Top, a bit of Queen, Status Quo. I had like every Status Quo album, every Beatles album, Police albums. But I had one Michael Schenker album.
Which one?
These are bits that I sort of found and discovered, and Black Sabbath. I had Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell.
Good.
So it wasn't like when I got out here, people know all the history of the metal really well, and I just kind of was a bit of an outsider.
Wow. So a fresh face.
Yeah,
literally like fresh face. I'm curious. What just for fun and my own guilty pleasure? Do you recall which Michael Schenker MSG record you had?
Yeah, Assault Attack.
Oh my God, my favorite one. My favorite one. Oh my God, fucking Graham is just a vocal god on that. I mean, sure, the band is just fucking killing it. The songs, the production, it's Martin Birch.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's my favorite record. Wow. There's a lot.
Martin Birch did Assault Attack?
Fuck yes.
Oh, I didn't. I
Fuck
don't
yes.
realize
Oh
that.
yeah, it's so good, and you can tell as soon as you turn it on. You can tell. So if you put on Heaven and Hell and you put on Assault Attack, you hear it right away.
Okay, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, you should. You should.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to go romantic on you or anything, but that's good shit right there. So you had you had Heaven and Hell, and you had Assault Attack. You're my new best friend.
Yeah, I luckily found them both. My friend's brother was a Sabbath fan, and then he gave me a Black Sabbath album that happened to be Heaven and Hell. And then I was going through a bargain bin in HMV Records or whatever it was, and I found a Schenker album, and that was that one.
Wow.
Also I had I had Anthrax. I like.
Oh,
yeah.
Which one?
I had Among the Living, and I had Spreading the Disease.
Oh yeah, you can't lose.
And I also had Peace Cells, Megadeth.
Yeah, of course.
And I had Ride the Lightning, and I had Master of Puppets. And then I also discovered a bag of cassettes at the bus on the way to school. There was a bus stop, and I found a bag of cassettes, and that had Rush 2112, Led Zeppelin 2.
You found a box of gold, a bag of gold.
I did, a bag of gold.
There's a lyric in there. I found a bag of gold at the bus stop. That's a good lyric right there. That sounds like some good blues right there.
Do it up.
Hey, good for you, man. Wow. Okay, so you had a bit of the big four. It sounds like the records from 1986 were even had some responsible tinges in your the kind of music you were leaning into a little bit, and not just your love for Hendrix. So you were sort of like learning
Hendrix. Yeah, because Hendrix I discovered, as I say, my dad bought me a Hendrix cassette, and I was probably about 11 or something.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that was going back, because before that I was just playing like acoustic guitar and classical guitar, bits and pieces.
Wow. So you got into the rock. You got into the rock a little later, and then so how old were you when you found yourself in California auditioning for Dio, the Elephant in the Room, right?
Yeah. I was 17 when I did that audition. And and that we did it at do you remember the Alley? The Alley?
No.
It's a rehearsal room in the Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, 17.
Wow. Can you draw a line? I'm sorry, Dave. I know Dave wants to talk, but I'm getting excited. Can you draw a line from England to the Alley?
Yes, I certainly can. Yeah. Look, I went to see Donington Monsters of Rock.
Holy.
I saw Dio. I saw 1986. I was there, and I saw Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Wasp. Who else was on that bill?
Guns N' Roses in '86. That was brand new.
Yeah, because it was
80. Record wasn't even out yet. Record was '87.
Oh, right. Okay. It was '87. Well, maybe it was '87 then. But I remember that we saw them play at Donington, and that video of Paradise City.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the show. So I'm in the middle. Not in the very front, but I'm like halfway back there.
You're the first person I've ever spoken to that says I'm there. I'm at that gig, Paradise City. That's me, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Awesome.
And then so 1987, I saw Dio, and so I was a big Dio fan. I got I had the first 3 albums at that time, and so then Craig Goldie left, and because I used to buy a Kerrang, so then I was a huge Steve Vai fan, and I heard that Vai got into Zappa at 17 or 18.
Yeah.
So I'm 16 years old. I'm almost over the hill. I have to get famous. Keep me up at night. I'll be sleeping keeping me up at night, thinking about it. And so my friend said to me, I said, send an audition tape to Dio. So I did. And I was going to chicken out. I was going to chicken out of sending it. And he says, don't chicken out. What's the worst thing that can happen? So I sent it. And then the record company was at that time was in the British record company. They sent it back to me. They sent my cassette back to me, and then I sent it again over to the fan club in Los Angeles. And it was probably about 6 months, that whole time period from sending it. And then I got a call from Wendy Dio.
Wow, that cassette tape was a fucking survivor.
Yes.
That was a survivor.
Put some miles on that tape.
Holy shit. So let's talk about your audition tape prior to you licking a stamp, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk what was on that tape. Tell us the process of your mind and what you were going to do. What was going to tape to go, how do I impress the greatest rock singer to ever live?
Yeah. Well, I was lucky. Let's see. What I did is I had a 4-track, I had a Tascam 4-track, and I just put Last in Line song on track 1 or track 1, 2.
Yeah.
And then I played my own solo to it on track 3. And then after that was finished, I did just sort of unaccompanied, just sort of shredding and what have you. And I remember my dad was in the kitchen and he was making dinner. And I finished recording it and I hear him go, "I'll be very surprised if you don't get an audition off of that."
That's feeling the love there, and the fact that you recall that and have it as a sweet memory. That's amazing.
How could you forget that? That's
good. That's good shit.
And I was real nervous about when after Wendy Dio called me, and I was going to fly out there. I said, "I'm really nervous," and he says, "Well, look at it this way." He says, "You got an all expenses paid trip to America to play with your idols."
Yeah.
And that was it. That took the nerves away.
Yeah. So what does the phone call with you and Wendy Dio sound like? You had to be shocked.
It was actually quite funny because I was
Can you reenact it for us?
Yeah. I was actually quite a cocky little kid actually. Even though I'm quite a shy person, I was quite and I picked up the phone and it was a scratchy line. And it was like,
yeah,
hold for Wendy Dio like this. And I was like, well, that sounds like an international line. And Wendy comes on the phone and she says, "How would you feel playing in front of 20,000 people?" And I went, "Well, all right, I guess." Like this.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, all right, I guess. For some reason, I wanted to be like, anyway. So, and then she says, "Well, where can Ronnie come and see you play?" And I said, "I'm playing in the Cambridge Corn Exchange, doing the Cambridge Rock Competition." And she says, "Well, how would you feel if we flew you over here for an audition?" And that was the whole call, really. That was it.
So they didn't come see you in Cambridge. You just flew over to LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I know your story because myself, like everybody in the rock world, was kind of shocked and amazed that Dio is hiring this young guy. And here in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, we had no idea who you were. And so it was kind of a shock. And we were thinking, well, Dio can kind of have his pick of whomever, he's a legend. And so I thought to myself, wow, this guy's got to be really, really good. And then I realized I thought the same thing about Vivian Campbell because he got hired by Dio when he was like 18 or 19 years old. I think he's 18 years old on the Holy Diver record or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people tend to forget that. But I thought it was interesting that earlier in the conversation you said you got that Heaven and Hell record, and then not many years later you'd be in the audition. So what does the audition? How does that go? What songs are you playing? Is the full band there with you? Describe the scenario.
Well, when I got there, and I met Ronnie at the management place. And I think I said to him, when I saw you play in Donington in '86, he goes, it was 1987 actually, and I was like, no, it was 1986. So we had a little bit of I corrected the master,
you were cocky, weren't you?
I was. I just, yeah.
You could have told me it was 1925, and I would have said, sure, whatever, Ron.
Anyway, so we got into the audition, and Ronnie said to me, he takes me to the side, and he goes, "I really want this to work. I'll just let you know, I really want this to work." And so we played like, the Stand Up and Shout, Heaven and Hell, Holy Diver, and then they had me play over a strange chord progression. He went like E, C, C sharp. So it was this really weird chord progression, a strange sort of sounding chord progression, and I knew I was doing well because the whole band was there, and I knew I was doing well because I looked over. I was standing facing the amplifier, and I looked over the corner of my eye to sort of see what was going on, and Jimmy Bain was doing this. Yeah, great.
Awesome.
So I was like, I'm doing something right.
Right.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bain. I wish he was still around because I'd love to have him on the podcast one day. Tell us a quick Jimmy Bain story, and then we'll stay on track. But I mean, I got to ask you about Jimmy Bain because he seems like a real character.
Well, in rehearsal, they said, "Are you taking Rowan out tonight, are you, Jimmy?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to the Rainbow," like this. And they were like, "Oh, don't take him to the Rainbow." And then I used to go to the Rainbow a lot with him, and they let me in. Sorry about the dogs.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
It might go on for a couple of minutes, actually, because not mad, but shall I stop talking?
No, we can't even hear it. We can't even hear it.
Oh, good. And anyway, so we went to the Rainbow quite a lot and sort of closed the place down, and they let me in even though I was underage. And not when then we go back to Jimmy's house and sort of hang out and everything, and he gave me the name Mr. Vomit because Mr. Vomit because I was getting into the drinking thing quite a lot with him. It was quite fun, but anyway. So, and Claude. Yeah, I remember Claude taking me in his Pantera, driving through the hills and all that. And
wow, Claude Snell, right?
Yeah, Claude Snell. Yeah. And but no, I got great memories of that time. It was very, very, very fun and lots of just easy. It was easy. I think it was all good fun.
And it was Vinny. It was Vinny, right, on drums.
It was Vinny for the writing process, and then Vinny left 2 weeks before we recorded.
Oh, weird.
Simon Wright came in.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you had time to play with half of Black Sabbath.
Yeah. And I actually,
is a way to look at it, and you also
Jimmy Bain.
Yeah.
You got the vomit with Jimmy Bain.
You were in Rainbow Black Sabbath. You were in Black Rainbow.
Dude, I actually got to play on stage with Geezer Butler as well, which was amazing.
Shit.
What was that? How so?
Well, I guess what was happening is it was at the end of the tour, and Ronnie was thinking about going back to Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And Geezer came out on the road to visit him, and it was Minneapolis, and we played Heaven and Hell or Neon Nights. So it's actually on YouTube. So I've got that. That's proud that I got to play with Ronnie and Geezer. Actually, did a song, and actually funny about that gig, it was the night Stevie Ray died, because in the morning when we got on the bus in the morning, they said that his helicopter had gone down. That was in Minneapolis, and that's where we were. And I could have gone to see Stevie Ray play that night, but I went to see Jeff Healey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow. So
that's heavy.
Geezer is out in Vegas too, isn't he?
I don't know. I think he's got a place here.
Yeah, I think he does. He spends some time out there. So did you, during your audition, did you get the gig on the spot, or did you have to leave and chew your fingernails for a week until they called you and let you know?
They gave me a second audition, which was about a week later. And then, do you remember Larry Morand? You know Larry Morand?
Yes, of course. For all our listeners' sake, and Dave, Larry Moran runs the Monsters of Rock cruises. Larry Moran works for management companies and things like that. Larry Moran is a cool motherfucker, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
So what was Larry's involvement?
Well, as you say, Larry's like the big cheese now.
Yeah.
But at that time, he was Ronnie Dio's personal assistant.
Wow. I guess I never knew that he did that. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Yeah. And I forget the point of what we were saying.
I was asking, they made you wait after the audition. You got a second audition. And
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Larry said to me, he said, I probably shouldn't tell you, but you got the gig. And then when they officially offered it to me at the office, I sort of acted all surprised and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So what did
good move on that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Your dad must have been proud because he told you that you were going to get an audition based on the tape, and then you actually landed the gig.
Yeah, he was. He was. Everyone was really, really proud, and then they said to me, "Go home back to England." This was just before Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year. So I literally went back about 2 weeks, picked up all my clothes, what have you, and came back out. So it was like suddenly, and I caught the end of the LA thing. I remember going to the Whiskey to see Cold Sweat play. No, it was Ferrari then. Do you remember, Mark Ferrari?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Wendy Dio managed Ferrari, and Oni Logan was the singer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd gone to the Whiskey to see them play, and I just remember it was a sea of, at my eye level, it would just look like a sea of blonde hair and pink lights. Big spiky blonde hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole Whiskey, because I caught the end of the rock and roll years of the strip.
88, 89.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to interject myself, as I'm really good at, but I thanks. I was out there at that exact, like, November of 88, Dangerous Toys was recording at Sound City in the Valley.
Yeah, it's come up to me a couple of times that I should ask you about that. I mean, it was the same time. I remember when Dangerous Toys had the hit on MTV. It was all over MTV.
That would have been the summer of 89, and we recorded in November 88. So around the same time that you're about to get busy.
Yeah.
So were we. No one knew who the hell we were. Here were these guys from Texas hanging out everywhere, on the Strip and the Rainbow and in the Valley, and just making new friends and whatever. And it was actually a really good time, although, that whole scene didn't last. Like you said, it was the end of it all, right?
And couldn't you feel it in the air?
One part of me.
Well, I suppose that's a silly thing to say, really.
Yeah, it's a strange question or concept, right? Because since I wasn't from there, I was a fish out of water, you could say.
All right.
But I also sort of fit, and no one knew who we were. People just thought we were tourists, until our new friends from that scene, we would invite them to the studio or to sing backup vocals or do whatever, or they would come over and talk to Max Norman while we were eating dinner or whatever.
Max Norman.
Max
Sound
did
City,
that.
Max Norman, huh?
Yeah, Max did that record, Sound City, yeah.
That's amazing.
And I think Dio was doing some recording at Sound City during the time we were recording there as well.
Well, you know what that was? That was me, but we were across the way at the rehearsal room. Do you remember
across the parking lot?
Yeah.
We did our pre-production over there.
Yeah. That's where we were rehearsing. So
we were probably crossing the parking lot, probably going, "Hey, dude."
Probably.
Hey, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. Good to see you again, dude. Hey, dude.
Yeah, probably.
Man, that guy's a nice guy. I wonder what his name is. Yeah. Do you remember the skateboard company right next door called Skull Skates?
I do not.
Okay,
know.
right. Well, some of us were kind of skateboard enthusiasts,
nice.
and
Nice.
we befriended those guys. They gave me a free skate deck and everything. Anyway, those were great times there at Sound City cul-de-sac, if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
off of Roscoe Boulevard there in the valley.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
and
right.
I remember Vinny would walk into do you remember the pinball machines in the the lobby of the Vinny would walk in and go, Paula, and
Paula Salvatore. Yeah.
Everyone would start,
Who's Paula Salvatore?
Paula Salvatore sings backup harmonies on Feels Like a Hammer on the debut Dangerous Toys record.
Ah,
nice.
Okay.
Yeah, Max Norman knew her because he had recorded a bunch of shit there at Sound City, of course. And
I actually didn't know. I mean, it was a legendary.
I was like, we got to get some other voices and doing the harmonies on here. He goes, hold on a second, and he comes back and he brings Paula, the front receptionist, in, and she hears the song 2 times and cuts a vocal and says, thanks, Max. See you later. Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll have a cup of coffee. Whatever,
Wow.
Yeah.
Rest is history.
I was just on Facebook and I saw that she's on there, or Instagram. I just saw that she's definitely around.
Yeah, she's still kicking around. Somebody, God, I forget who it is now. Somebody still is like friends with her and mentions her often. I go, oh, Paula, because I haven't seen Paula since. Like I heard she was at NAMM. At NAMM.
Okay. Did you see the Foo Fighters movie about Sound City?
Sound City.
Yeah.
I have not. But I'm sure she's in it. She's a staple.
Yes, she features heavily in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I knew that Dio recorded there. Because Dave Grohl, of course, is a huge Dio fan, so he made mention of that. And I knew from knowing Jason that Dangerous Toys had been there. And then it's a really well done documentary. I mean, goes all the way back to Tom Petty and Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks, and it's really, really well done.
I think I have seen it. Don't they talk about its beginning with Rick Springfield?
That sounds,
I think
the introduction, like the reason Sound City exists is like via Rick Springfield's early songwriting and via vehicle to get going in the music business, because he was a soap opera star, a TV daytime soap opera star.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of his songs were written by a young Sammy Hagar and some other people, and I think
that's really interesting.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he did. I've Done Everything for You.
Yeah, and I think Sammy wrote that.
Yeah.
I want someone.
I think I want to say it's the other way around. I think Rick Springfield wrote it and Sammy made it famous.
Really?
Or semi-famous. I could be wrong. Somebody's going to watch this or listen to this and correct us.
That's all right. Everyone listening
but there is some synchronicity between those two.
Yeah, shame us in the comments. We don't care. Just shame us in the comments. But I want to say that I have seen the documentary. Wow, let's move on, because we could talk about Sound City, the legend, for an hour. Yeah. So, that's really great.
So I wanted to ask, Wendy asked you on the phone how you would feel about playing in front of 20,000 people. So first I want to know, what was the largest crowd you'd played for up until that point? And then what was your first night on stage with Dio like? How many people? What kind of shock and awe was that compared to what you used to?
Yeah, well, I'd only played at a couple of pubs in Cambridge, and like a school hall, Sea Cadet Hall, and maybe 200 people or something like that before then. And the first gig that I played with Dio was supporting Metallica on and Justice for All.
Oh my God.
and I remember,
wow.
I remember I met them all. I think Jens hung out with them quite a lot, actually, but I was kind of on the outskirts. I was still a kid, and I was like, but I went up to Hetfield.
I'm sorry, when you say Jens who?
Sorry, Jens Johansson from Yngwie Malmsteen.
Oh yeah, I know Jens. Yeah, I know Jens. I haven't seen him for years. That's right. Yeah. He was in Dio. I forget that.
Yeah, he was on that album. Yeah,
fantastic.
What a great people play.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's fun.
Great guy. So funny.
Anyway, carry on.
And so anyway, I'm just sort of randomly remembering stuff. But and I went up to Hetfield. We were in a bar, and I went up to Hetfield, and he was sitting at the table by himself, and he didn't look very happy. He was just sitting there, and I said, "Can I buy you a drink?" And he goes, "Why do you want to buy me a drink when the record company is here?" Like this. And I was like,
wow, yeah. Well,
that was my big moment with Hetfield.
Yeah, welcome to the big leagues, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But I think Jens used to hang out with them quite a bit, and Jason Newsted was of course in the group then, and Lars and Kirk were real nice, and they were real friendly and everything. And so where was I going with this? Anyway, so that was we did 5 gigs with them in Europe, and a couple of our performances are on YouTube. And so behind us was the big stage with the
Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty that sort of fell apart when they played.
Lady Justice.
Yeah.
Lady Justice.
To correct both of you, I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right.
Lady Justice, not the
right?
Statue of Liberty.
Oh, and now what? Why is it the Lady Justice there?
And justice for all.
With it.
And justice for all.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the song, yeah.
Not and liberty for all. So.
Is that the lyric? Is Hetfield's lyric you're doing there?
Well, and Justice for All is the title of the record, and Lady Justice is the one with the scales.
Yes,
right?
you are correct. Yes.
I see what you're saying now. Gotcha.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
So that's Lady Justice. Okay.
Good call, Jason.
Yeah, nice.
Well, I'm
Good
a fan. I don't know shit about justice, but tell you.
No, but you're absolutely right. It is Lady Justice with the scale, hence the name of the album.
Yeah, she's on the album cover.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have all that behind you while you're performing. You're 18 years old or something.
Yeah. And I remember we'd stand at the side of the stage watching them play, and the pyrotechnics were so loud that the whole, you remember how loud the pyrotechnics were at gigs. They were just shook the whole place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Simon Wright was standing there with a cigarette, like seeing a cigarette and a beer like this, and it goes off, boom, and his beer shot up in the air, and his cigarette flew over his head and everything. it was great. Anyway, and but the first night I played.
I have a visual. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a great.
Next to him, it just all exploded. Cigarette went up in the air.
That's a great cartoon in my head now.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Simon, no less. I mean, that's perfect.
What a great guy, Simon.
Yeah, Simon's a great guy.
Yeah.
And so the first night we played, I was very confident, and I got my guitar handed to me by the guitar tech, and standing there, and then the lights go down, and the intro to our set was a big intro tape, and then a spotlight would go on the drummer. The whole place was dark. Spotlight go on Simon, like the beginning of this Wild Run song, right? And of course, I run out. There's a spotlight on me, and I pressed the wrong button on my pedal board.
Oh no!
And I turned the whole rig off. So as I went to hit the first note and there's silence, all I heard was silence, and then I heard boo, boo.
Oh no!
People booing me.
Oh no!
Yeah. And then when I got off, and then my guitars were out of tune that first gig, and when I got off stage, Ronnie was standing backstage like this, arms crossed.
Oh no!
Yeah. That with the tongue in the side of the. Like this, right? Yeah.
No.
I sort of skulked away. I was like in trouble, but the next night it went better, and the whole tour went fine from there. But yeah, it was a bad first gig.
Whoa,
that was your first night out with Metallica?
First night, yeah.
Oh man,
shape of things to come.
Yeah,
but you recovered.
Yeah, totally.
It got better, and the record did good, and people still talk about it. And
Well, I mean, it did all right, and I don't know
It was
whether
a strange time too, like we
Yeah, I was going to
pointed
say
out. Yeah,
it's kind of a transitional album in many ways. Number one, the band itself transitioned during the middle of the recording, and the
Yeah.
time, as you know, Jason, it's late '80s going into early '90s. The climate has changed. Grunge is big. Metal is kind of declining, et cetera. So, yeah, it was huge kudos to you for being on that record, of course. But I think in the catalog of Ronnie James Dio records, that was a difficult one in many
Yeah.
ways.
yeah. I mean, it's some people really like it, and most people don't probably like it very much, and I don't think it's particularly a good record, but I think it's got moments. But I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I think I missed the mark guitar wise because I think the solos are really good. But what I didn't understand at the time was how a guitar player needs to really carry the rhythm and really dig in. Whereas I was I didn't really understand it, I don't think. And I think that frustrated Ronnie actually in rehearsal. Sometimes he'd be really happy and sometimes he'd be like, can't you, like, can you shake the chords like the way like Iommi, like I don't know what he does, like shakes the chords or something. So he was listening for something that I wasn't providing. So I think there was, to be completely honest, that I mean, I could. I wish, I'd have been a bit more prepared for it, but I still got the opportunity to do it, and the record has its moments, that's for sure.
But
Well,
and you also have a ton of credits on that record. So I mean, I was going to ask. It appears anyway that you weren't just a hired gun to come in and blaze out some solos. It looks like there was some songwriting chemistry that involved you, and I don't know how accurate that is. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. I think the reason that was the way was because people say to me, "What was it like working for a boss like Ronnie?" And I say, "Well, he wasn't a boss because." I can't speak for him, but it seems to me that what he loved about rock and roll, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, was it's music made by a band in a room, and then you do band stuff. You go to the bar, you whatever, and it's not, that's how that music comes about. So I think that's what he wanted in a guitar player, was someone to be a band member and look to that player for guitar riffs and write with them, because that's, as we know, like all the good rock stuff has come from the writing combination of a band and the heavy stuff and quite often a singer guitar player.
this brings me to ask the question, not to change topic at all, to just live in this little area that you guys have kind of created here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
How many songs had you written with previous bands in England before coming over? Did you submit any original material at all?
No, when they told me to go home and get my stuff, they told me to come up with riffs.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Were you using your Tascam and throwing some stuff down a little bit?
I came up with, had a couple of things, came back with a couple of riffs. I think the only one that made it was on Born on the Sun. But anyway,
Wow.
so yeah, they asked me to do that. And I'm sorry, I forgot your question again.
No, you're starting to write. Do you remember the first like songs you wrote before you even sent off the audition tape? And you hadn't done anything.
I hadn't written anything, not anything. And when we got to the first rehearsal was with Ronnie, with Dio, I said to him, I don't know if I can do this. I'm quite nervous. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And he goes to me, trust me, you're fine, as Ronnie would,
Yeah.
So, because he instilled confidence in you.
So that's an amazing teacher, is what that
and
is.
He was, because I said that's right. Because I said to the first rehearsal we got together, I said to him, "Can we play Rainbow in the Dark?" And he goes, "No." No. Because I was just a kid. I wanted to play,
Sure.
So yeah. Anyway,
Wow. So
Why did he not want to play Rainbow in the Dark? Do you know?
it was time to write.
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah,
You
it's like
within the
all
past, he
fun and
wants to
game,
move
all
forward.
fun and it's time
Yeah.
to get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't
Exactly.
just get in here and jack around. Right.
I was impressed at the how many times your name appear on that album as a songwriter. You've got a lot of credits on that record. So what was the process or the chemistry like when you're writing a song with Ronnie James Dio or the other members of the band for that matter? But it looks like a lot of it was a collaboration between you and Ronnie. Does he have a lot of faith and trust in you, or is he editing you a lot, or how does it work?
Yeah, it sort of went like this, that he would say to first of all, the guitar player, what riffs have you got? And so I'd play this, I'd play that. He'd say, no. Okay, all right, let's play that. So then the band would play it up, and then he'd say, where can we go from here? Any ideas? And we'd throw out, how about this? How about that chord change, this and that, and eventually find maybe a direction. And then maybe at the end of that first day, we'd have two parts going back and forth, and then he would come in perhaps the next day with a vocal idea, or that's the sort of process. That's sort of how it went. But I think my favourite song on the record, "Lock Up the Wolves," that's what I go to say. That's probably my favourite song. That's his riff. That's Dio's riff on guitar. I remember he came. He's sitting there with the guitar. Check this out. Don't. Sitting there with his guitar.
Awesome.
So, and that's like, and also Jimmy Bain, the riffs that he had on there. I mean, I think that's the other riff, the other main riff in "Lock Up the Wolves," the song, is Jimmy Bain. If you did down, it's quite like if you think of like Straight Through the Heart or that era of riffs, and I think
it reminds it just reminds me of old Rainbow shit or something, purple riffs and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think I was coming from more of a shred place. So like the riffs like Wild One and Hey Angel and stuff, they're they're more shreddy, aren't they? They're not quite as blocky and powerful as Ronnie's riffs were.
Was Ronnie open to letting you sort of spread your wings, or was he looking for a successor to Vivian Campbell and Craig Goldie? Did he want you to kind of stay in that mold, or was he open to what you had to offer?
No, again, it goes back to, I think, what he wanted in a band was to be with in a band where everyone was themselves, and having fun and coming up with stuff rather than trying to put people in a mold of this and that.
Yeah. What was the biggest eye-opening experience for you during that time? Because you basically went, as you said yourself, from unknown, maybe playing some local gigs around your hometown or whatever, to all of a sudden you're in the big leagues. I mean, your first gig, you're opening for Metallica, for God's sakes. What is it like for you as a young person in the big leagues all of a sudden? What impressed you most in either a good way or a bad way?
Well, gosh, it was just like, it was so just weird. I mean, going from, not weird, but it was just like, you can imagine. I mean, sleepy England, sleepy Cambridge, village outside of Cambridge, to Los Angeles, and then with all this attention and it was just so weird. It was like, it was just, is this how life goes? You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, I've done it, made it. That's it. That was my dream. I've done it. It was just very weird. It was very weird, and it was like walking onto the set of the A-Team.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So did you, like I said earlier, there was a lot of interest in you, obviously, this young guy, kind of unknown in America. He's the new guitar player for Ronnie James Dio. You're basically, the media is kind of putting you under a microscope. Did you feel any of that outside pressure, or were you so in a zone and in a bubble within Ronnie's world that you were kind of immune to all that stuff?
I think at that age, I didn't know I didn't know failure or fear as a kid. So everything was just like, oh, this is fun. This is great. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that protected me. I
Oh,
think.
that's good.
Yeah.
It's also pre-internet, so you're not getting roasted.
No, not at all.
You're not getting roasted.
No.
It very well could have been someone with paper and pen working for a magazine or that's some kind of publication, but they're just reviewing the record or a live concert. They're not necessarily worried about, oh, this guy's a real dick, because it's pre-internet and they're not. Yeah, it's not really one-on-one with you. It's more about Ronnie and it's
I'm sorry, Jason, but
no, go ahead.
But by the time that people heard my guitar playing on the record, it was all but over anyway.
Yeah. So that's a good point. How long is your tenure in the band from the time you rehearse or the time you audition, you get the gig, you record the album, you do a tour to support the album? What length of time is that before it's all over all of a sudden?
Well, I got out here in February '89, and then I think was it summer '90, maybe fall '90. That was the end of the tour, something like that. So going on 2 years.
Yeah. Wow, that's quick. And I'm sure it's even quicker for you when you're touring during that time.
Well, it kind of underlines the whole. Whether it's not really about anybody in this room currently at this very, very moment in time. It's more of a sign of the times. Like you mentioned earlier, Rowan, it was, 88, 89, 90. Holy shit, what a strange, bumpy road the musical climate is in and even about to embark. Even pop music was, what happened to the Red Hot Chili Peppers? They used to be good. You know what I mean? Like they started writing pop songs and they were considered this crazy underground punk funk crazy, let's put socks on our dicks kind of shit. And then they became like you could hear the Red Hot. All of a sudden, you could hear them at the mall and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's just a sign of the times. I'm not beating up or praising or downgrading the Red Hot Chili. It's not about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Don't miss my point. It's about what was happening to music and where bands were deciding to become a brand. Like, because it was around the same time. Sure, you were on the And Justice for All tour. Well, look what happened to them after the Black album.
Yeah, then they were everywhere. I was just going to say...
It's the sign of the times. It's not necessarily anyone's fault. I'm not throwing darts or rocks at anything. So you came in at a very strange time to basically help out and give it a go. And what a fantastic opportunity for you in every way. My favorite part of your story, Rowan, is that your friend, your chum, your buddy said, no, don't fucking chicken out. You need to send that tape. And your dad's love for you saying, I'm so proud of you. I'll be shocked and eat your dinner, kid, and blah, blah, blah. And just all these perfect sort of like remedies for your soul, that these great things, and even Ronnie pulling you aside, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be great. It doesn't matter. I'm not picking on you, but it's gonna be. I'm Ronnie. It's gonna be fine. Even though you've never ever written a fucking song before, it's gonna be fine. You know what I mean? And these teachers and these friends and these things like putting you there, and you go there and you're like, well, what the fuck? And you swan dive into it. I love the story so much. Yeah. The musical climate just a year or two later doesn't have anything to do with how wondrous of a learning experience and you getting to be in a room and literally write songs with people on the rock and roll tree that created, the Deep Purple tree. You're on the Deep Purple tree, bro.
Right.
You are.
Yeah.
You know who else has
Pretty good.
who has a similar story in with regard to a friend just pushing them. Same thing happened to Zach Wilde.
It's true.
He had
It's
a
true.
friend that insisted that he send the audition tape, and Zach's like, "Dude, I'm 19 years old. They're not going to pick me, you know." And the guy, and the friend just said, just like your dad said to you, Rowan, "What's the worst that could happen?" So he did it, and we all know his name now.
Yeah.
Well,
So when the Dio thing ends for you, you're now an established name. How many bands are or musicians of some renown are coming out of the woodwork asking you to join, you know, another project, your next chapter, so to speak? Because I would think now you're kind of you're a name player, and you just played with a legend. You spent, you know, you recorded and toured with a legend. I would think you're a bit of a hot property at that time. Any offers coming in
the time of grunge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't get one audition. After it, and I didn't personally look for auditions, but I'm sure that Wendy Dio would have been asking and what have you. But then what I did want to do is start my own group. Anyway, so that was fine, but yeah, it was like that really. It was, and of course, yeah, as Jason said, it was a bit of a, you know, it was at that time. I mean, you were considered a dinosaur. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guitar solos were like, you know, uncool.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what does, you're still young. What does young Rowan do? Rowan doesn't go back to England. Rowan stays here.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Stayed in LA and put together a group.
Did you play on other people's records as a guest or anything like that? No. Okay. All right.
A couple little just home studio things here and there, but no.
Okay.
When did DC4 happen?
Oh, that's much later. That's 2008, I think. 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
2006. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good band. So you were in you were amongst others that I don't have. I'm just lost for words. That had the same issues that you did. Even established bands were in a strange place.
Yeah.
Like I keep bringing up musical climate. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to change your wardrobe and move to Seattle? Or are you just going to keep playing fucking rock and roll guitar? Of course you're going to. It's like the guys in Armored Saint they're going to shave their heads and all of a sudden be hardcore. No, they're going to continue to write bluesy, heavy rock and roll. They're going to also form bands like DC4 and have their friend Rowan be the guitar player while John Bush goes and plays with Anthrax for a little while.
Yeah.
Things like that are happening. And, you know, a lot of people loved that era of Anthrax with Bush on vocals. It was a powerful monster.
Dave Jordan, who we lost.
That's right.
Yesterday.
And he recently passed away. Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sorry,
That's crazy.
not to cut in on you.
No, it's all right. I went to El Dorado and hung out with the Armored Saint guys a couple of days during the recording of Symbol of Salvation.
Well, that's another time I just missed you because when I did form that group, we recorded our album with Dave Jordan in El Dorado.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
What group is this? What group?
It was called Violet's Demise.
Oh right, okay. It's Oni Logan singing.
Yeah, Oni Logan.
Wow,
yeah.
I got to hear that. I want to hear that.
It's really it's got a lot of qualities, that album. It's really weird, but it's really good.
I like
think. Weird.
Yeah,
it's not, you know, that just to go off into that, because
please do.
That's where I went musically after. What that album lacks, I think, for me, is I was playing sort of lead guitar, Hendrixy style lead guitar all the way through it. So as a result, you can't really tap your foot to it. It's kind of this blare.
Okay, it sounds interesting.
But it's really an interesting record. But yeah, so anyway, that
and
was,
Oni Logan can sing. There's no question there.
Yeah, I just texted with him today. You're still good friends. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, please tell him that we say hello.
Sure.
Yeah,
We'll
please do. He's a good egg, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great point that y'all are making, because on paper DC4 looks like it's got a lot of potential. It's the Duncan brothers for people who aren't familiar.
That's right.
It's Sean Duncan, Jeff Duncan, and who's the other Duncan on this?
Matt.
Yeah.
Matt.
The drummer who's in LA Guns.
That's
Yeah,
Sean.
No, that's Sean. Sorry, my bad.
That's
Too
all
many
right,
Duncan. Too many Duncans going
That's
on.
what I'm saying.
these Duncans.
But all these Duncans in this
That's
DC4
true.
band, they're all established players. And then Jason, you mentioned that John Bush had gone off to join Anthrax, and there's a lot of people that love that period of Anthrax's career. But in the grand scope of Anthrax, it was kind of a down period for them as far as
Just like
sales and
Dio, just right before that,
Right.
a blink of an eye before that. This is this time and this sort of string of events.
right.
Is
so
interesting.
even the stuff that a few years ago, or a few years prior, would have made a lot of sense, is even with name players, it's kind of struggling to happen in that climate.
We could do a whole show about this shit.
Yeah.
We totally could. Yeah.
So, you mentioned Violet's Demise. What other projects do you feel like there was a project that you were involved in that didn't get near the recognition you had hoped it would? Like
That would be Violet's Demise, yeah.
Violet's Demise.
Because Dave Jordan was the biggest producer on the planet at that time, pretty much one of a few. He did Jane's Addiction, both the big first two albums. He did the first two Alice in Chains, and this was the new music. This was blowing up. This was everywhere. So there's Jordan, and then my friend Jimmy Paxson, drummer from LA, said, that guy, that producer, he's the man. He's not a producer. He's a reproducer. I remember him saying to me, and I thought to myself, because I liked the Jane's Addiction album. I used to listen to it.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, oh gosh, I wonder if we could get that guy. That'd be amazing. Because we played for oh gosh, what was his name? Mike Klink. Yeah. And Garth
Richardson.
Garth Richardson.
Yeah.
And we played for all these guys. And anyway, we played for Jordan, and Jordan loved it. And he was like, so he produced it. But it was such an amazing thing for me to be playing with the biggest guy of the new music at that time, especially me coming from the older music, if you like.
Yeah.
And anyway, Dave was amazing. So I forget the point. But
that's a project that, for the times and considering the names involved, it looked like it had a lot of potential.
Well, yeah. I mean, but again, though, that was at a time when, I mean, singing in a bluesy style band and Oni's type of singing was just not fashionable. It was just at that time. It was. I mean, that was '92. I remember when Nirvana came out. I loved it. When Teen Spirit came out, I thought it was great. But I remember that was when we were writing that album, same time.
Yeah. Difficult time. So let's jump ahead all the way to, how did you get involved with Bang Tango? You said you're in Vegas. Aren't they in Vegas now?
Funny story. Yeah, no, Joe's in Arizona. He's in Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
But the funny story was, you probably remember how big that song was, Someone Like You.
Oh, yeah.
It was, you couldn't escape it. It was even on KLOS probably. And I met the rock star, Joe Lestay, and we were walking down the street, and he's like, yeah, my band's just blowing up. Like this. And I was walking next to him. Great guy, always so nice to me. And I thought, oh, I've got him now. He goes, what do you do, kid? And I was like, oh, I'm Dio's guitar player. And he goes, what the fuck? So that's how we met, right? And anyway, it was just funny. So, but yeah, I saw him years and years later. I was playing with DC4 at Vamped here in town in 2008, 2009. and he's like, "I want you to join my band."
Wow, yeah.
What-
So what are the plans there? Are you guys working on an album or anything, or?
No, I haven't played with Joe for a couple years now. But we did do, it was with Kyle again, Kyle, the original bass player, because they had all the original lineup, and that lasted maybe, I don't know, 6 months or a year or something. And then he asked me to come back in, and we did a couple of festivals. We did M3, but that was a couple of years back now. But Joe's, I think they are still recording. Actually, they're working on songs. Joe and Kyle, yeah,
Oh,
they
good.
are. Yeah,
Good.
so I might well play with them again.
Wow,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
where are you? What are you doing currently? Are you working for? Tell us all about the Rock Vault.
Yeah.
Your kudos on the Bucky's hat.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
Right.
kudos
Yeah.
on the Bucky's hat. That's
Thank
killer.
you.
That's
Thank
very
you.
fashionable and perfect for a
That makes you an honorary Texan.
That's right. A
There you go.
podcast, a podcast out of South Texas, and you got the Bucky's hat on. Tell us about this Las Vegas thing called the Rock Vault. How did you get involved with that?
I
And
got
what
involved-
is it? And what those
What
of
is
us
it?
who
Yeah.
those of us who don't know, I mean, I know what it is, but please fill us all in about what's going
Sure.
on.
In 2016, 2015, the show Raiding the Rock Vault was formed, and they did a performance in Los Angeles at the Mayan Theater. And it still is, a story of rock music from 1965 to 1985. And the band plays songs, and we have video behind us. And it might talk about, the year of Woodstock, or FM radio in the 80s, and we play songs from that era. And so in 2015 they played at the Mayan Theater, and the original lineup was Howard Leese from Heart, was Tracy Guns, the two guitar players. Tracy was replaced by Doug Aldrich soon after that, maybe a couple of years after that. Let's see, Michael T. Ross on keyboards. The original drummer was Jay Shellen. The bass player was originally your man from Asia, John Payne, and then Hugh McDonald from Bon Jovi. So anyway, the moment is Blas Elias on drums, Todd Kearns, Todd Kearns, Keith St. John, Travis Cormier, singer from Canada. Let's see, me, Z Maddox, so anyway, so that's the lineup we have now. It started really big. They had billboards all over Vegas, and there was millions spent and whatever, and big salaries, and they all had suites in the hotels and all this stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and then obviously it's got scaled down since then, but we're still going. We're still doing good. We're in the Hard Rock Cafe in Vegas, right on the Strip. We play 2 or 3 nights a week. It's a beautiful room, so it's still going.
Is that your? And I'm sorry for the campy question. Is that your day job?
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good day job.
When you do a show like that spans decades of rock music, and you are learning material from each of those time periods, for you personally, what era, or what do you learn about an era that you didn't know much about because you're sort of forced to have to learn the material? Any inspiration or anything interesting come to light because you're having to study maybe 60s rock or 50s rock or something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question because the guitar playing is something that is always a really cool challenge for me. Like every time I play the intro to Hotel California, and then you listen to the way Don Felder does it on the record. That's an amazing bit of guitar playing. So every time I'm trying to get closer to it, and it's just really cool because it makes you more rounded technically and sound wise, and so it's always a cool challenge. I love it. I mean, we're playing tomorrow, and I can't wait. I love it. I mean, Hotel California again. Yay.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was. That's what I was getting at. If it kind of opens your eyes and makes you appreciate something that you didn't necessarily spend a lot of time listening to or studying before.
It's true. Yeah. When I first got into it, and I thought to myself, oh, I hope I can do justice to these guitar parts, because, if it was like, let's say, some Anthrax songs or Hendrix or something like that was in my wheelhouse as a kid, it's all there in your fingers. But so Howard was a big influence. Howard Leese, he's a great guitar player, and obviously all the hard stuff that he played on. I mean, such an amazing, he made effortless guitar players. It all looks easy for him. He's great. Wow. So he was a big influence.
Wow, that's really cool, man. That's amazing. You've got to do some pretty amazing things, man. I mean, it's your stories is amazing. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, it really is. And I'm not going to open an English pub yet. Got plenty of notes left in me.
Good. Yeah. Is that
the retirement plan?
Yeah, is that what old British guitar players do? They just open a pub once they
Some
reach
of them
up.
Probably.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad plan.
I like it.
No.
Welcome
Actually, I stole that. I stole that from my good friend Phil Chen, who was the bass player. He was a Chinese guy, but he was from Jamaica. And he would say, he had a thick Jamaican accent, and he'd say, I'm not going to open a Chinese takeout quite yet. Plenty more notes in me yet.
Nice. Phil Chen, that name sounds very familiar.
You would have heard him many times, but apart from being on Do You Think I'm Sexy?
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart videos.
Rod Stewart. That's where I know the name. That's where I know the name.
Blow by Blow. Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow.
Wow, yep. There it is. Wow.
So when I met Phil on a gig, that was like, this guy, I've got to learn from this guy. And so, I mean, he was such an incredible musician. So I learned a lot from him.
Wow. Well, it's a good thing that you love music, and it's good, and someone is looking out for you for the reason that it seems to me throughout this hour and change that we've been talking, hour and a half here or whatever it has been. Listen, you have been, 6 feet away and closer to people that have written songs that are on the radio right now. Songs that'll be on the radio again in 5 minutes somewhere else.
And on the radio long after we're dead.
That's right. You have written songs with people that are forever in everyone's record collection. Not just a bunch of bozos, but like all the cool bozos that everyone says, when I grow up, I want to be a bozo just like that guy. And so all silly talk aside, I mean it, man. That's like, it's almost like I'm not calling you names or saying anything or getting all hippie or anything, but it's kind of like you could look at it like maybe someone chose that path for you, but that's the hippie part, right? That's the imposter syndrome. That's the stars aligning and going, here you are, son, and carry on with guitar playing. And let there be Rowan and let there be rock and roll. And then there's the part where, I already said it, your friends, your father, Ronnie giving you the pep talk and the, don't worry about that right now, let's do this. And even to the parts where might have been a bit of a choke for you, where you come out and, Simon, you come out and nothing and boo. Even the little like learning, whoops, let's try not to do that tomorrow. I think that it's amazing. And then the fact that you have love from friends and fans who still, give you a hug every day and give you a call and still want you to play your guitar,
Yeah.
You'll always have a gig
Yes,
Yeah.
I hope, yes, yeah. That's it. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, I feel very fortunate.
Good. You should, and you're a super guy, and
Likewise. Thanks so much,
thanks.
guys.
Everyone else that I know who knows you, just they could talk about you for hours. So
Oh, right. That's really
man.
nice to hear, man. That's really nice to hear. That's great. I appreciate it.
And it's usually good stuff too.
Yeah, just so you know, it's all good stuff.
A little bit of good stuff.
Yeah. Well, what's going on with you now? Anything exciting, or it's just continue to be a soldier of rock from here on out?
Yeah. Continue to be a soldier rock from here on out. Yeah, I mean that's it. I love it. I love playing. I love got good friends. Yeah, I mean, and probably the same for you, right?
Yeah, it is the same. My day job has everything to do with rock and roll. I've been at School of Rock for 20 years, and I love, being the rock and roll football coach is what I kind of see myself as.
Right on. Yeah. I feel pumped up after this.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Rowan, your story's been amazing. As Ronnie James Dio himself would say, it's magic. So
Yeah. Thanks very much, Dave. Hey, yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us today, man, and letting us pick your brain. It was great getting to know you. As Jason says, we've got some mutual friends, I think, because our friend Sean Weingartner has gone on and on about what a great guy you are. And
great guy.
Hey, let's talk about Sean for 2 seconds.
Okay.
What a fucking guy that guy is.
What a guy. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that guy angelic or what?
You want
to
talk about rock and roll soldiers.
Unbelievable person.
Yeah. He's such a good guy. Good guy.
We love you, Sean Weingartner.
We love you, Sean.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Rowan, thanks for sharing your story with us today. I've watched you from afar. I was the nerd reading all the magazines. I'm the guy that went, who's this guy that Dio just hired? I got to pay attention to this. And all these years later, you're on our podcast and sharing your stories with us. And it's just incredible. I wish you continued success in everything you do and really appreciate your time.
Likewise, Dave. Wish you every success and hopefully bump into you here soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Nice.
On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest today, Rowan Robertson on the Talk Louder podcast.